Welcome to Daryl Wolf. This is DocStar TV, and today it is an honor. I have Marjory Wildcraft, and because this week what we're doing is we're doing a food forest abundance series. Now, why would I do that? Well, I'm going to tell you something. Everybody's going to get their pants pulled down, and I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty. Okay, what do you think is going to happen when people find out that BlackRock and Vanguard own all the supermarket chains in the United States and even up into Canada, and understand something right now, and then you can't get any food, okay? Understand something. This is a very serious situation. We're not trying to create panic. We're not henny penny, the sky's falling in. But understand something. These guys have been planning this for 250 years. Okay, this is like strategizing. And then you take a look at the majority of the population. They can't even strategize one day. You know, if you could strategize one day from the moment you rise until you close your eyes, and then actually say, wow, that was like a perfect day, you know. I hit a couple bumps in the road, but I slowed down. I stayed calm. You know, but people don't even know how to stay calm. You know what? I made a promise to myself, because I know what's coming, that I will not lose it. I will not get angry. I will not hate anyone. And I am going to stay connected to my breath. I'm going to stay to my plan, stay to my strategy. And my strategy right now, you know, we were prepared to go and we live three places: Texas, Puerto Rico, and right now we live in Mexico. And Mexico's where I'm going to stay. Why? Oh, well, there's a couple reasons. I'm going to bring Marjory on in a second. But are you strategizing even at all? What if something happened and they said you can't get into the supermarket, or you can't have this unless you do this? I mean, how much are you willing to give away? Okay? You don't want to be on your knees begging, please? Well, I don't want to do that. That's why I'm in Mexico. There's no chemtrails. There's no GMOs. Okay, the food's organic. It's inexpensive. You know what? I can get a quart of organic juice any day of the week, and I drink at least 3 quarts a day, along with 3 quarts of structured water with Ormus minerals and black diamond in it, because I know what it takes to have a high vibrational body. Do you? And then I just love how everybody says, you know what? Oh, I've got a good diet, or I've got a great diet. And I'm telling you right now that only 1 out of 1,000 people even are healthy on this planet right now. And I can actually say that, because if you have an autoimmune disease, that means that you are already in big trouble. Okay, that means that the body is actually attacking itself, because you have programs and you were attacking yourself way before that. But understand this, most people never think about their food. All right, and we're going to talk about how much food there isn't around, and how far does your food have to come, and who's going to actually feed you. Okay, all right, did you ever watch those movies where it's hard to get food? Well, guess what? It could look like that. And when? It's not a question of if, it's when it's going to happen. Okay, so understand this, everybody, that I'm doing this series because I'm hoping that you will glean a lot of information from here. All right? And who do you trust? You need to learn how to trust yourself. And remember yesterday when I was on the show, you could actually do your gardening in an apartment, or in a condo, or if you have a house, or you have property, or if you have a shared property. Anyways, Marjory, what do you think?
Yeah. You're absolutely right, Daryl. It's coming at us hard and fast. And I think everybody had a taste of it in 2020 during that experience that they laid out for us.
Oh, I don't think that's anything, though, because
I don't think it's any, but I mean, for years I was telling people that there was vulnerabilities, and they were like, no, that could never happen here.
yeah, that was the hors d'oeuvre. That was the hors d'oeuvre. The buffet's coming.
That's
okay,
right.
and this is not henny penny, because I'll tell you something right now. Okay, I have so many of my colleagues that are shutting things down because they said it's not working anymore. The money's not there anymore. You know what? We've dropped our price by 30, 40% because this is our last. I mean, we had a whole world tour plan to go and teach our whole life coach, Wolf Non-Surgical, the pelvic course, and everything like that. So we had to drop the price because gas went up, food went up, mortgages, everything's gone up. So we had to come down if we want to try to make this run. And guess what? People are still having trouble signing up. So we see it. You know, it's one thing to see it, but you better not put your head in the sand. What do you think, Marjorie?
I totally agree. And you
Yeah.
and I were chatting ahead of time. I've seen it in my own business that sales
Yeah.
have dropped. People just don't have the resources. The tightening, it's been going on. It's going on. And now it's really, really, really starting to be felt by almost everybody.
And also, we were just talking a few minutes ago, and even though you didn't want to do it, even you had to cut back on some of your staff right now, right? And understand something. This is not fear mongering, everyone. Okay. You know what? The same people that did the COVID thing are the same people that print the money. And the reality is this. They can turn that tap off and you didn't notice that, you know, because when money's going back into the bank, they're not releasing it back out to the public. And they're just shutting it off because they also want to ram everybody into digital, don't they? But let's talk about something organic like you, okay?
Yeah, I'm organic. I bleed. Yeah, I'm one of the ones that actually has a really good diet. So
Yes.
I didn't get into, people know me because they call me the female leader of the preparedness movement. I've been doing this for about 20 years of telling people you need to prepare. And I'm kind of like when you're at war. Yeah, I grew up in the South. I grew up in Florida, and my coach, I was always into athletics, and he was really a big Civil War buff, and we would be driving to all these places and visiting all these Civil War, battlefields. And I was always like, yeah, you guys are all shooting each other. What did the women and the children do in wartime, right? And so I think of myself more as the home front. How do you take care of the family, and how do you make sure people are fed, and how do you make sure you have medicines when everything is shut down? So yeah,
Yeah, but if I can say something,
yeah,
everybody's been telling us to prepare for, since I've been here, we're supposed to prepare for something. And the reality is most people aren't going to believe that they should get prepared. But I don't know a time in history when you should, well, this is the one you don't want to sit on your keister, okay? Because it's coming way before Easter. And I'm telling you it is. And the reality is this, think about it. If this happens, I mean, why don't people just plan ahead? And even if it never happened, what if you really planned about growing your own food, of being more self-sufficient? What if you did that and nothing happened? How would you feel?
yeah. Well, the food supply, the current commercial food supply almost everywhere is toxic. So really, you should have been growing your own food for the last couple of decades. GMOs, chemicals. They're like Bill Gates is talking about putting vaccines into spinach. It's sick what they're doing. They actually, now they're starting to vaccinate all the livestock, like the beef and the pigs and all that, and there's no labeling law for it, so there's no way to know whether those animals have been vaccinated or not, but most of them have, and God knows what they're putting into the meat supply.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. You know how they say majority rules? No, majority are being ruled. And that's the reality. Majority doesn't rule this planet. Majority rules. I mean, that's just a statistic. The majority are asleep, and that's it. They are asleep. Okay? And you know what? And it was actually the food that put them to sleep. I eat like one meal a day. The rest of the day is spent on juicing and spent on structured water and just adding things to my water. That's it. And I have more energy than anybody else I know. And then you've got your people that eat the 3 meals a day, and they don't have enough time, they don't have enough energy, and they've lost their ability to create. Okay?
Absolutely, because the commercial food supply, well, it's devoid of nutrients, number one. Even the CDC was saying, back in 2000, they fully expect 1/3 of all kids born after 2000 to become diabetics, because there's not enough nutrition in the food supply, right? Of course they're going to become overweight and eat unhealthy because there's nothing healthy. We used to say, oh, you can be a perimeter shopper and get something, and that's not even true anymore.
That's not true.
Yeah.
We know that 3% of the products in a supermarket are totally not carcinogenic. 3%. But the other ones still have the heavy metals and the chemicals in them. Okay? Yeah. That's it. So that's the reality. So, Marjorie, could you share your inspiration behind founding the Grow Network and tell people what the Grow Network is? How's that?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So I was not like growing up in a hippie commune or farmers or anything like that. I grew up in a suburb in South Florida, actually, North Miami. And no, my father was an artist and my mother a photographer. There's nothing about growing food in there. And I ended up getting a degree in electrical engineering. And I always wanted to live overseas. And, if you
Right.
visualize it and focus on it, you can make it happen. Landed a really cush job in Hong Kong, actually, with Motorola as an engineer. My family had always been a little bit poor, and I was always interested in money. And somebody said, "Hey, Marjorie, there's this guy named Robert has this class all about wealth and stuff. You want to go?" And I'm like, "Well, who is he?" And then we don't know. And I'm like, "Well, whatever, why not if you don't try something?" So I go, and this guy Robert just blew my mind, and he ultimately inspired me to leave engineering and start a real estate investment business in Austin, Texas. And that business was so successful that he said, "Hey, would you mind being a lead testimonial on one of my infomercials?" Or actually, I
Okay.
ended up doing several of them. And that's how I was on national television for 4 years with Robert
Right.
Kiyosaki, selling Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, I was volunteering on a project. Like, so none of that background has anything to do with growing food, right? And I never wanted to grow food. Like, why would I do that, right? I could afford anything I wanted. Um, I was volunteering on a project to get locally grown food into an elementary school, and that project was a complete failure. And my life completely changed from that, and I'll never forget that
Oh,
one
can I
night.
say something? So you tried to get good food into an elementary school?
Yeah, yeah, and I was
Yeah,
working
you'd have
with,
to wear a helmet for that.
well,
And you're never going to get it. Everybody, I mean, every school in United States is actually controlled by the Rockefellers. So that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
well, we had the president of the Texas Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association, the president of the Austin Organic Gardeners, and everybody really, and we had a powerful team. Usually when you have a volunteer organization, you're kind of like one or two people does everything and then all the rest clap. But this was really a pretty kick-ass group of people.
I
The
know, but
project,
did it ever work? Did it ever really work?
well, the reason it failed was not what you're thinking.
Okay, good.
Um, it wasn't. I mean, there was state money and federal money for grants and stuff like that. And, there's a lot of lip service to this being, the reason it failed, and I will never forget that night when it really dawned on us, is there were not enough local farmers to provide part of the vegetables for one small rural elementary school.
Wow. Okay.
And I
Okay.
knew
All right.
4 days worth of inventory in the grocery stores, stuff shipped in an average of 1,500 miles. And I'm surrounded at that time, this was more than 20 years ago, by 20 million Texans who are armed to the teeth. And I had two small kids. And I'm like, I could not stop shaking. I could not stop shaking that whole night. And for the next months, even years, I had panic attacks.
Why? Why'd you have panic attacks?
Because I could just see a situation where no amount of money would buy you food. Like, there could be a situation where there was absolutely no food available.
And right now in Texas right now, I think they only what 5% of their food actually is grown in Texas, like the edible. Is that
Yeah,
true?
I would wager it's even less than that,
Okay.
although
All
they
right.
do have the cattle and they do have the other stuff, but that would be gone in a heartbeat in any kind of crisis. Yeah, so I just said, we all want the direction from God of what we should be doing. And I sold the real estate business, and I said, I have got to learn how to grow food, and I've got to teach other people how to grow food. And we have to completely redo the entire food system in the United States and in the world, really, because the way it's structured now is it is structured for failure. And I put up with a lot of heartache from family and I mean, after a while, we started
But
noticing
Marjorie,
them.
everything is structured for failure.
Yeah, it sure
Every
is.
every okay, do you like this? Decay. Every decade that's gone by, okay, we see things crumbling. Decade, decay. You can't, I mean, the only system you can do is one that is actually created by you, controlled by you. That's it.
The thing that everybody turns to historically in any kind of crisis is backyard food production.
Yeah.
It seems so humble and so simple. And I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And it's like, yes, that's what you're supposed to do with your life. I went to Cuba in 2012 with Ronnie Cummins and the Organic Consumers Association. And because, the Cubans went through a major collapse, like their economy overnight, when the Soviet Union collapsed, they collapsed 60%, their economy plummeted overnight. Water shut down, lights turned off, absolutely no food. What did they do with it? Well, that's when you started, that tree that had been dropping fruit that you were annoyed with in your driveway, now all of a sudden was a godsend. It was no longer a problem. People were figuring out how to dig up this and that and the other, and how to grow things and how to raise chickens and pigs. And it was backyard food production that got them through that time period. And historically, every single crisis that humanity has gone through, that's what gets us through. And I've spent a lot of time looking at different collapse scenarios. And yes, you better have your gun, and you better be good at self-defense, because violence is going to go up. And yeah, you better have your medicines and that. And, you better know a little bit about that. But the number one thing by far that survivors talked about was being hungry and food. Food by far is the largest issue in any kind of crisis or collapse situation.
And just think, and please, I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but we have been programmed to be eating machines. 3 meals a day, 3 snacks a day. When we get tired, we eat. Okay, when we get bored, we eat. When we socialize, we eat. I mean, it's not even, and then they're not even eating good food, but the reality is it's the program in here that I have to eat 3 times a day. And what are you gonna do if there's no food to eat? What are you gonna do? Because you're still running that program. At least I only do 1 meal a day, and long as there's water, I can go quite a while and I can figure this thing out, right? But you get the person that, they have so many addictions, right, to sugar, okay, and they've got like a fungal problem or a parasite problem, and the fungus and the parasites, they got to be fed every day. They got to have those junk foods every day, or else you're just going to go squirrely, because that's what they do. You do know that, right? Fungal. If the fungus in the body doesn't get fed, if the parasites don't get fed, they will create psychosis. And after a while, they'll create it anyways. But the reality is that people are just been trained to be eating machines, correct? So let's get them to eat a lot. Let's get them to eat the wrong things. And most people wouldn't be able to sustain anyways, right?
Yeah, totally agree with you there. Also, when you start eating really nutrient-dense food, you find you don't need to eat that much. People need to eat a lot now because their bodies, they eat and there's no nutrients in it. So the body says, give me some more because I'm looking for the nutrients, right?
Yep, that's right. The nutrients turn off the hunger, and they turn it off all the time. And everything is about nutrition, everyone, and you better get it. And it's all about trace minerals, it's all about enzymes, it's all about electrolytes, and you're not going to get that out of a bag of chips.
Another program that it took me a decade to realize I was banging my head against this one. And I think humanity is, we're going to have, we've been programmed for how many, millennium? I mean, it's generation after generation after generation. We've been controlled and manipulated and programmed. It's just, the more I look at it, the more horrified I get. But another program, and you'll see this all the time in the movies, is that growing food is hard, that it's only work that the lowest of the low, a migrant worker would do. It's backbreaking labor. It's going to fail on you all the time.
Well, look at everything's a program. Okay, I don't want to do farming, but I'll do chemo.
Right. Yeah.
Right? No, seriously. And then you just saw many of your family members do chemo, and we know that even with that, there's only a 3.2 success after 5 years. 3.2 people left after 5 years. That's the stat. So yes, I mean, you can program a human being to actually believe or do anything or eat anything or say anything.
It's true. And like I was just watching some show, a friend of mine recommended it, and I would watch it just because, it's a way of bonding with her. It wasn't something I would normally choose. And sure enough, there's the scene where there's a farmer and he's an idiot. He's a complete idiot. I'm like, yeah, of course they're going to show farmers as complete idiots, like, because they're programming us to not ever want to do that, because you can grow your own food, you can grow your own medicine, you have some sovereignty, right? You can't be controlled. You don't have to buy that. You don't have to sign up for their CBDC. You are not going to be managed the way other people will be managed if you have your own food supply. You're also, you're going to be so much healthier. You're going to be disconnected from their whole medical system. It's just a fabulous thing. And that's, of course, why they don't want us to do it.
So you were on National Geographic, correct?
Yeah, I was on the Doomsday Preppers series. Yeah.
The Doomsday Preppers series. Oh my God.
I
Could you get a
know,
better
right?
name? So anyways, what would you say to people are the essential things that they could look at, or maybe, I know a lot of people are, I hear more about I hear the word off-grid every day. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to just get off-grid, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, being off-grid applies, you've got your own power source, but before you worry about power, make sure you've got a backup food supply. And right now, even though the price of food has gone up, it's still really inexpensive. You need about 1 million calories per person per year. And however you do that with beans or whatever tuna fish or whatever it is that you're buying to have. And honestly, I have some backup food supplies that are foods that I don't normally eat, because I'm normally eating fresh, vibrant stuff all the time. But you better believe I have some backup calories, because we just don't know what's coming. The other thing is, and here's the key strategy, is that the early adopters have the advantage.
The what?
The early adopters have an advantage. And even though we're so close, like even the world time bomb clock is down to like 45 seconds or something, it's crazy. um, we still have an advantage. Like, you can go out now and get seeds, you can go out and get livestock, you can go out and get materials for, building chicken coops or the things that you need. And it's still available right now. In 2020, during that little, warm up exercise, you couldn't buy laying hens. Every seed retailer sold out completely. It was crazy what was going on there with people. Unfortunately, it right up as soon as things sort of went back to whatever we're at now. But right now, this is when you need to do it. I will tell you, the other thing is, I am so grateful that happened to me, because I don't, I'm, first of all, my level of health and vibrancy and energy is so much higher. I'm 61 now. I'm way better shape than I was 20 years ago, right? Because I'm growing food, eating food. The act of growing food is more healthy than actually eating the high quality produce. And you're outside, you're getting sunshine and fresh air and gentle movement. And you know what? Electronics and soil and dirt don't mix. So you're not going to have this thing out there with you, and you're going to actually be connected to the sky and the sun and the plants, and be a human being in nature. It's so regenerative and so good for you and so healthy. So actually now I would, even if we didn't have the end of the world as we know it, like totally queued up for next, right? I would still always be growing my own food, because it's such a joy and a delight, and the rewards are so wonderful. And I'm so grateful for that night. It was actually in Red Rock, Texas, where that happened, went down, and my
Well, that
life
was your
changed completely.
aha moment. That was your aha moment. And the problem is people get aha moments. And guess what? It's like what people do. You know what? They, they'll come to us.
Yes.
They'll get on a perfect day diet, get on a whole plant-based keto diet.
Hmm.
And then guess what? After a few days to a few weeks, I mean, their pain and suffering's over. And guess what? But they got to go back home to their family.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you don't have enough love and respect for yourself, and you're looking for other people to respect you and love you, wham bam, go back to your old personality. Now you get your old reality. So if people don't want to change their personality, if they don't want to change the things they do, okay, the things they eat and how they eat and what they do, then nothing's going to change. Somebody out of every family has to be brave enough to have the hecklers in the family, in the neighborhood for a while, until they just get tired and walk away.
Yeah, I just definitely dealt with family members who were like, Marjorie, you're crazy. Our
Yeah.
grocery stores are never going to have empty shelves, or, this is the United States of America. We're the strongest country on earth. And I'm like, look, I know what I know, and this is what I've been directed to do, and this is what I feel is important, and this is what I'm doing. And really seriously, like, we quit being invited to certain family gatherings and things like that for a few years. Um, but I'm like, look, well, I can't not know what I know, right? And this is a crisis, and here we are. I tell you what, this year, 2024, every single person watching this and every single person on this planet is going to have a major life change. That may be your bank account shut down with everybody else's bank accounts. That may be you lose your job. That may be, you know, you know, th- the violence increases so much and your neighbor gets shot. There is going to be some major, major, major stuff go
And
down
there's going to
this
be a
year.
lot more health emergencies because guess what?
The
People don't know
vaccine.
how to stay calm. They've never ever, all they do is they have action reaction. And you know what I said? You know what I said this year? Me and my partner, we talked about it and we just go, we're not reacting. We're not reacting. We're staying in the present moment. Okay, be here now, be here now. And we're just going to stay here right now. We're not going anywhere. We're not going into fear zone. And I absolutely fear nothing. Okay?
Good.
You know what? We're going to take this thing one step at a time. And we're strategizing right now. So
Yeah.
Lori and I are strategizing on all levels. And believe it or not, when it comes to your family, I'm telling my family what I'm doing, and I just go, I'm doing it, and I need this done, and I need you to do it, and don't do it for yourself because I know you don't want to, but you're doing it for me, and that's the reality. So let's do it for Quack Dad, okay? Let's do it for Quack Partner, and guess what? And then I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I do. I swear to God. Okay, but the reality is everything that we're doing anyways, we should have done. I'm not going to leave my money in the bank. Are you like crazy? I already knew that years ago, but now I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get hard assets, and I'm going to make sure that my food is taken care of. Like we were going to split our time up between Puerto Rico, Texas, and Mexico. But now I'm not making any move to Puerto Rico until I see the shoe drop, Marjorie. I need to see the shoe drop because as far as I'm concerned, there is no better place. We've got so much food down here that even if they do close, because most of the Spanish people here are farming. I mean, there's so much farming going on and so much food down here. And then you've got the fishing, you've got the water, you've got it all, you got the sunshine. I mean, you can't walk down or walk anywhere without seeing avocados or coconuts. I mean, nobody's going to starve here, right?
That's an awesome place to be. You are so in a good spot there.
No chemtrails,
Yeah.
no 5G. Wow. Guess what? I broke my phone and took it to iPhone. And then they go, well, if we'll restore your phone, but we're going to you do know that there's no 5G in Mexico and it's not coming there. So you're not going to get a 5G phone. I'm going, great. Don't give it to me. And also, it's going to have a chip in it because they don't do the transfer thing. I'm going, okay, great. I love it all. So there's no 5G, no chemtrails, no GMOs, right? I mean, what else do I want here?
Yeah, that's a really great situation. Unfortunately, most of the Americans are not in that situation at all. Most of America, less than a few percent, anywhere from 3 to 5% is what's locally grown, provided for your neighborhood, city, or wherever. And I would say that's being very generous, actually. There's so very little locally grown food. I mean, really. And BlackRock, they own all the grocery stores. There's only 10 companies that control pretty much the entire food supply for everybody who eats that stuff, which is pretty much the world. Maybe not you and I, but a large part of the world eats that. 10 companies. And then all those companies, of course, are owned by one. So don't think they won't pull some kind of thing,
People actually think they matter. Their money matters. But now that money is just totally lost its value, and we're going to do the big flip switch into digital, everybody's going to have to be pushed down on their knees and then beg them, please.
Yeah, and they'll do that through the food supply. It's very clear.
It's the best way to do it. It's always been about energy. It's always been about energy. Let's control the oil. Let's control the gas. Let's control everything. Let's shut off their cars. Let's shut off their food supply. They will absolutely do whatever the hell we want them to.
It's absolutely true. And
Yeah.
that's definitely, they've been, for the past years, slowly destroying the global food production. So there have been, oh, surprise, there was a drought, or, oh, surprise, there was flooding just before harvest. Oh my gosh, we flooded out all this stuff and now there's none to pick, or there's a desecho, was this crazy wind that came through and wiped out a whole bunch of the corn crop in Iowa. All these little things are like little regional things so that you wouldn't ever notice it or see it, or it doesn't make any, you have to kind of be paying attention seriously. And then it's cumulative. It's cumulative. Like, my God, what happened to Ohio? You remember that? And all those dioxins, like, have we all just forgotten about that now? But that whole northeast part of the country has now got, and that used to be a really rich cheese, egg, and meat production area. All that food coming out of there now, and the Amish, oh my God, it's all toxic now. Like, dioxins don't go away. But they've been doing that, chinking here and chinking there. Right now, actually, there's huge uprisings and revolts going on in Europe. They're trying to shut down farming. They're literally trying to shut down farming in Europe right now. So their tractors.
Oh, yeah, I hear it. I see it.
Yeah. Farmers
if we could just get people to buy into, like I said, into knowing that the body doesn't need much when it's the right stuff. That's why they're always hungry. And everybody doesn't understand that the reason why everybody's overweight, and I mean almost everybody, you do know that 92% of the population in the United States now is overweight or obese, all right? Yeah, that's 8% of the population that isn't overweight. And you know that obesity when I was young was 10 pounds overweight, and now it's 40, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now it's 40. It's so nice that they changed the rules for all us fools. So I want to ask you.
The only fat person I knew when I was growing up was Fat Albert, and he was a cartoon character.
I know that. I know that. Go look at a beach in the 1970s and go look at one now, and you don't want to go down there. Not because, and I mean this in the nicest way. All I got to do is go to a beach, a crowded beach, and I already know that diabetes will be the main cause that takes everybody down in the next 7 years. Not everybody. I believe that 30% of the population is going to leave on their own accord, even if it wasn't about the B thing. I think that just diabetes is going to take them. It's like, the bucket, the water's dripping. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Once the bucket's full, okay? Until the bucket's full, and when it starts to drip, you know what? You can flood a whole house out, right? So we're at critical point. Just walk down the street and, and I don't mean to be like this, but how many people look like, they could be like 12 months pregnant? Seriously, okay? Or they don't have a jawline. They don't have jaws or cheekbones left because they're retaining water so much because they're so inflamed. I mean, we have walking illness in the majority of the population, and nobody even sees it because the majority already have it, right? So we have what's called a walking illness. Nobody notices anything anymore. I want to ask you a question about Mother Earth news. Can you tell me about that?
Sure. I've got some great Mother Earth news stories. Yeah, I used to go to all their fairs and, speak at the fair and talk to people. And I was homeschooling my daughter, and she would have a booth, and we'd sell videos and knives. People really liked more knives. So it was a fun organization to work with for a while there. A lot of traveling, which I don't want to do anymore, but since I was homeschooling my kids, that fit into that lifestyle.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So what is your main thrust right now? Okay, I know that you're attached to Food Forest Abundance with Jim Gale, but what is your main thrust? What is it that
Yeah.
the message that you want to get out to people?
Yeah, well, I teach people, and I've spent 20 years looking, and I know that nobody's going to go into growing food until there's a crisis, right? I didn't do it until I had a crisis, right? It's just human nature. Like, there's a few extraordinary people that do it because it's a hobby and their parents taught them, but by and large, nobody's going to do it until there's a crisis. We're
Right.
at a crisis. So I have been spending this time figuring out what is the easiest things to get up and running that produce a lot of calories. I know the calorie has been a bad word up to now, but soon it's going to be a unit of currency and it will become extremely valuable. And then more importantly, the most deeply nutritious food. So how can somebody who knows absolutely nothing, they're out of shape, and maybe they're older, how can you get them producing a lot of food very, very quickly in a short period of time in, say, the size of an average backyard?
How can you?
And so, yeah, so I've got that whole webinar that we have for people that will go into that in depth, but I'll give you the 50,000-foot view. And people always think of me and they go, Marjory, gardens, right? As in the who's who in America for starting all these gardens. I'm like, you guys, I'm not really about gardening. Honestly, animals and animal production is going to be the most nutrition and calorically dense food that is going to be the easiest food you can produce. So a small garden, like 100 square feet, a small flock of backyard chickens, like 6 laying hens, and then a small home rabbitry. Chickens are so unbelievably productive, and eggs are so nutritionally complete.
They
It's
are.
I got a fun story to talk to people. They're like, oh, hey, when you see an egg, there's kind of the clear stuff and then there's the yolk, right? What do you think is the chicken? And everybody's like, no. Actually, the chicken is a little tiny speck of the, genetic material from the rooster that connects up to the genetic material of the hen. And that egg, the yolk, is actually a food sac. And the white part or the clear part is actually just kind of like water and protein. But there's enough nutrients in that yolk that takes that kind of slimy stuff and in 28 days turns it into a complete little chick with legs and wings and eyes and beak and heart and all the
Wow.
organs and everything. Like, that yolk is full of every single nutrient that is needed to
So that would
build.
be the real chicken soup.
That's the real chicken soup. And and that little baby chick will even have enough energy to go for a couple of days without eating, because the eggs don't all come out they don't all crack at once, they don't all hatch at
Yeah.
once. And some of them have to wait around, before mom gets off the nest and takes them all out foraging.
Right.
And isn't that an incredible food? And I mean, sucking down a raw egg, my God, that's a superfood right there. So, cook it if you need to, but
I do 2 raw eggs in my blender drink, and I love organic strawberries. For 60 pesos, you can buy a container this big of organic strawberries here. 60 pesos.
now what is
Okay.
the exchange rate now? Is it like 16 to 1, 21?
17, I think.
Yeah,
17.
So 60 pesos. It'd be a little over $5. Wow, for a quart of strawberries.
Look I'm not kidding. So a quart, okay, that big. So what we do is we just drizzle a little bit of maple syrup from Canada, and
Yeah.
that's our treat. Yeah, that's our treat.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, that's
But
what
so
it's. Yeah.
eggs. So if you have 6 laying hens in your backyard, and a reasonably good laying hen will lay about 250 eggs a year. Now, they don't lay one, they lay one almost every day, but they got to take some time off from time to time. It's called molting, or either that it's too hot or too cold or whatever, but they about 250 eggs per hen. And if you got 6 of them, that's 1,500 eggs. And if you think about it, that's 3 egg omelets for breakfast every morning of the year, 365 days of a year. You've got breakfast covered. Plus, you'll have 33 dozen eggs left over to barter or trade or give away.
And you know what? You could actually survive if you had to. You could survive just on those eggs until you found other food. And people don't get that. That's why eggs have been poo-pooed. And then also, watch out for salmonella and the scare tactics,
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh, remember how
absolutely.
they had everybody just eating the, not eating the yolk?
Yeah, not
Okay?
eating, yeah, eat the egg white.
Because of
That's eat the,
cholesterol.
yeah, I know, right? It's so crazy.
You can tell the majority of the population absolutely anything, and God love them. But guess what? We've all been programmed. We went to their schools, and now we've been schooled, ruled, fooled. But the reality is you know what? Everything's a bloody lie. If we could get them into one thing, everything you hear is a lie, unless it came from Grandpa out in the backyard.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the level and the depth of the lies and the, it's really quite amazing that they actually plan this stuff over decades and decades and decades. They have this real length of attention and devotion. It's just really quite, if it weren't
Well,
so
look at you got to understand.
horrible,
You
quite
get
amazing.
you get a couple 100,000 people, and they're ruling 8 billion people. Do you know how powerful that is?
Yeah.
Come on, and you're part of this family, and you're raised in this family that everybody else is just cattle, and we can do whatever we want with them. We can send them off to war. We can we can poison them, and we can get them to take our poisons, and then we can send them to the hospital and take their organs. And seriously, it's not going to change unless people are going to. Maybe this is a crisis. Maybe it'll do it. Maybe this crisis will do
Well,
it.
that's actually the very hopeful thing about it, is that this crisis that's coming, a big part of that is going to be destroying the entire banking system,
Yeah.
which will stop everything. It'll stop everything. I mean, you think about going for a day without your credit card, like everything's going to stop. All commerce is going to, and this is not just going to be in one country. This is global because of that whole
You do
quadrillion
know,
goals.
Marjory, that most people can't handle what you just said. They're having a meltdown right now.
Yeah. But the really good thing about it is
If there
in
is a good thing, we're not telling people we're going to enjoy this,
no, we're
but we
not.
need to look at the positives of this, right? I mean, if it's coming, it's coming.
Yeah, it is coming. It's already been, constructed.
Yeah.
It's marching, and I think we are very, very close to it. You and I were talking, I think really something within the next couple of weeks, some big thing is going to happen here very soon,
Yeah.
because they've already set up the famine. They're already set up. World War III is happening, and they've got to have things to blame everything on. And then there's just a whole bunch of natural cycles for things that are going to be stopping or being destroyed. We're in that time. We're living in an apocalypse, right? And but the real opportunity here is humanity has been managed for millennium, and this is actually an opportunity for us to become free of that. It's going to be extraordinarily painful, but and that's part of the reason I do the work I do, is you need some level of sovereignty, and you need food sovereignty for sure. So it's so simple. I know, it's so funny. I used to laugh at myself. Oh my God, Marjory, you teach people how to your backyard food production, how humble, but it's the linchpin for humanity to be able to come through this crisis and redeem ourselves from and release ourselves from the choke of the control that we have
We
been
should have
living
never
under.
given it away. We should have never given our food away to someone who, right off the bat. Why don't everybody do their research tonight and find out that the tobacco industries own the food corporations, and so they just moved over to a whole new ball game. Okay, all right. But I just want to say something that I was researching, and just so people know, it's everywhere. I mean, just even look at Starbucks. When you go get a cup of coffee and you say, "Oh my God, that's a paper cup." Okay, I'm going to go get a coffee from them. Inside, okay, they have polyethylene, and within 15 minutes, you have taken in 25,000 microscopic plastic particles into your body. If you took 15 minutes to drink that coffee, you have 25,000 microparticles, okay, because the whole inside was coated with a plastic that would degrade and actually deliver that to you. So, you know, don't tell me about, you know, so this is why we have to,
Yeah.
we really have to shake our heads.
It
You wrote a
sure is.
book called Grow System. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, sure can. So,
Thank you.
yeah, Penguin Random House, the biggest English language publisher, actually. I had a really good literary agent. She had 18 publishers bid on this book, and they were like, "This." After reading, you know, the whole stuff I'd put together for them, they were like, "This is an amazing book." It's called the Grow System, the Essential Guide to Modern Self-Sufficient Living, from growing food to making medicine. And I go in depth here on that 3-part system on how to grow half of your own food in your backyard. And it's really like in about a half an hour a day. Then I also cover a bit of home medicine on how to treat the 12 most common ailments that come up in a family, you know, fevers, coughs, colds, you know, small cuts, lacerations, that kind of things.
What about if
and
what if I wasn't a reader? Oh, what do you got for me? What if I don't read?
Yeah, it's also in Audible. We also have
Okay.
a
Oh, it is
PDF,
an Audible. Okay.
yeah,
And where do I find it? On Amazon again?
everywhere. Yeah, they
Okay.
did a really good job with distribution. Just look for the Glow System. But then
Okay.
I also have a free webinar where I think it's a lot easier for people to just watch this webinar and really see, because then I have photos of me in a garden, and that's exactly what a 100-square-foot garden looks like. And why did I design it the particular way I did, so that it's easy for people who maybe can't bend over as well or something, right? And that webinar is actually, we've got it on your site at braveheartnation.com/grow. If people want to go to that link, that will
Beautiful.
that will take you to the free webinar, and I'll show you the 3-component system. We also have a Q&A, and always what comes up in that is, you know, what if I'm in an apartment? Yes, well, there's lots of things you can do in an apartment. You know, what if I'm a vegan? I'm like, I'm so sorry. Yes, there's some things you can do too. But, you know.
Can I ask something? So what are some of the main challenges that somebody has just getting started? Like, you know, it's always that getting started thing, isn't it? I'm just going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. Or if you're here, I'll do it mañana. Okay.
Well, I think one of the things people think is going to take a long time before they produce anything, but I really recommend people get started with that flock of 6 chickens, laying hens. And here's why. So you can get the chicken coop built, and you know, in the book and actually in the webinar, we have, you know, I show you what it looks like, and drawings, and very easy to build. So you get that built over, you know, a weekend or two. You know, get the feed and water. Go down to, you know, Craigslist, buy some laying hens. Go to a local feed store. You know, find some laying hens. Get them settled in. It'll take a couple of days to a week, and bam,
Right.
you're going to start having eggs. Like in 2 or 3 weeks, you can be producing eggs in your backyard and now have breakfast every morning for you, right? That's fast. That's really fast, and there's substantial calories.
I don't think people really, they don't get the concept, but anybody that can put 6 hens in a little chicken coop, they better get their rearing gear, because it's not that hard. And if you've got kids, they'd love to go out and get the eggs, wouldn't they?
They would.
And feed the chickens.
And even though it's wintertime right now, I mean, you can build, people have chickens up north, right? They do have them up north. You just build a coop with a little more insulation. You can do that right now. Right? You could do that right today, right?
Yeah.
Whereas in some places, you know, it's maybe not as easy to get the garden going right now, but you can definitely get the chickens going, right? There's always something you can do. By the way, for the people who are living in apartments or condominiums, quail are just like little bitty chickens. And, you know, I actually helped set a girlfriend up with some quail in her apartment recently. I got to get some video and start showing people that. But she produces about 10 quail eggs a day, which is the equivalent of about, I'd say, 3 chicken eggs. So, and she's doing, you know, she's doing it in an apartment. There's a lot of solutions. Yeah.
That's great. That's great, though. It's great. Yeah. That's really wonderful. So what type of alliance, and what are you doing with Food Forest Abundance and Jim Gale? What is it you're doing with them?
Well, we're starting to help promote each other, because I love Food Forests, right? I just absolutely adore it, because, you know, it takes time to get those to producing, you know.
Yes, I get it. That takes time. It takes a few months. right?
Or a few years. I mean, some of those trees are not going to produce for 2 to 5 years. So
Okay.
it does take some time to get that going. So
Okay.
our
All
two
right.
organizations really complement each other well, because you really do want a food forest. But I'm more about like, how do we get stuff up immediately? Right now, there's a crisis. You don't know nothing here. Let me show you step by step by step. Do this, do that, ABC, get some food production going. And that's always been what I've targeted and what I focused on helping people get going. So I really love Jim. We're also possibly talking about doing some, I may, he's creating a council of 12 where he's looking at some very high profile people who are in the regen ag space, myself or Joel Salatin or Jeff Lawton, some of the really big names. And each one of us would develop a model farm with all the stuff on it, Airbnbs and education and all that. And I'm saying, yeah, I'd definitely be real interested in doing that here in Puerto Rico. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So, lots of different business opportunities. And Jim's an awesome guy. Have you had him on yet, or is this the beginning of the week?
Jim will be at the end.
Okay.
He'll be at the end.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Jim, I think, is actually on, he's like in 3 days from now.
Yeah, good. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, our two businesses complement each other real well. So I help promote his work and he helps promote mine. And
Yeah.
in this space, a lot of businesses are very competitive, but honestly, the way a lot of us look at it, and if you just look at the American market, there's 350 million people who basically need to learn how to grow food. There's plenty of market.
Well, and there's something else to be said about that, and that's this. I had a meeting with my staff just last week, and I said, we are not going to get competitive in any way, shape, or form. It's over.
Yeah.
We're not, right now competition is the last thing that we want. We don't want competition. I never did the competition thing. I never ever did. But now I'm telling, no matter how things go in the next few months, we're not going into competition. We're just going to do the best we can for everybody, and that's it. And we have to do that. This has to be a year of integrity. You know what? And staying in the present moment. If you don't know how to stay in the present moment, you're going to be rolled over like a steamroller. We'll just hit you every day unless you can stay there. Because did you ever notice when you're taking action and doing something positive, it doesn't matter what the crisis is, it cannot affect you.
That's right.
You cannot become the crisis, everybody. Be here now. You should have that taped everywhere. Be here now, okay? It's going to be really important. So what are some of the future projects you have? Or have you put them on hold? Or are you moving forward?
No, oh my God, I have so many projects. So I work locally, like every community I've ever lived in. I always work to build communities.
Where do you live in Puerto Rico, though? Because
in Rincon, I'm on the western side. And anybody out there, if you want to come visit me, please reach out, and I'd love to connect with you.
And Marjory, Wildcraft, let me see here. How do they get in touch with you? We don't have that up here.
I go ahead and give everybody my phone number right now. It's 737.
Yeah, please, would you?
Yeah, 737-230-4699. And feel free to reach out. I have people that text me all the time or call me, and I'm like, if I'm busy, I can't answer the phone, but vast majority of time I do get in touch. And sometimes somebody just needs a little inspiration, and sometimes I just want to say thank you. And other people have business deals, or like, would you want to partner on this? And we talk. I really, this is a crisis. We're in a crisis. Really, we're there. We're knee deep. Those of us who can really see it, we understand that it's going to get far worse. And cooperation and working together is going to be the way out, and the way to sanity, and the way to integrity, and the way to be able to live through this with dignity.
Yeah, and everybody, Jim does a free strategy call if you call there. And do you help people out as well like that? A similar thing, or?
Well, that free webinar is one of the best.
The free webinar, and how do I get to that?
Yeah, that's at braveheartnation.com/grow. So
Yes.
braveheartnation.com, that's your new website, right?
Yep.
We managed to get that
Forward
set up.
slash grow review. braveheartnation.com/grow. Go check it out. Well, this is where you start, isn't it? This is where you stick your toe in and go, the water's fine, let's jump in, right?
Yeah. Actually, at this point now, I've been doing this so long, there's millions of people actually that I have taught to grow food. And we found that is the highest leverage thing. And I love what Jim does because he actually does more one-on-one, like, oh, here's my backyard, what do I plant and all that. And unfortunately, I can't do that level of detail. So just because I'm working with much larger numbers.
Yeah.
But definitely reach out. I love to hear from people and send me a picture of your garden or your chickens. I totally get jazzed about that. And if we ever meet in person, I love to see it. People are always showing me their stuff, what they're doing. But yeah, braveheartnation.com/grow. And it took a good 15 or 20 years to assemble the knowledge that's in that webinar. And it's really
Guys,
hard
I
won.
hope you know what you're getting. You're getting gifted here. You're getting gifted. Please. Call it entertainment right now, but if that's where you need to start, that's what you do. Let's go have Marjory entertain us for a while.
Yeah.
But I think it'll probably trigger some things in you and it'll maybe get you going. You're only about an hour from Dr. Ben, aren't you? Dr.
That's
Ben
right.
Aguilera.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have a coffee or a meal with him pretty soon. So
Yeah. And just so you know, everyone, if you don't know this, he lives in Puerto Rico, just an hour from Marjory, and he is who we work with. We're affiliated with him with Braveheart Nation University, otherwise BHN University, and also he has a program that will protect any practitioner anywhere in the world, and it's called the Indigenous Doctorate Program. And this is where you can actually be adopted by the Taino tribe, and now you're outside the law of white man law. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, whether it's local or provincial or state, it doesn't matter. And we're trying to get out to as many practitioners as possible, because they're going to come for the food and they're going to come for the practitioners next. And that's the truth. Isn't that right now in Canada, they're coming after the nutritionals up there and the practitioners. So it's only a matter of time. The thing is that, guess what? And I think you'll like this one, Marjory. Who's protecting the hen house? That's all I want to know, right?
yeah.
Who's protecting the hen house? And nobody's been protecting the hen house, and the fox has been in there stealing the eggs for the last couple hundred years, but mainly the last 100 years, coming on strong. Yeah.
And we do have this crisis coming, but as I said, and it will be difficult for a while. But you're watching this now. You can get ahead of this curve and be able to be strong and be a leader and be a support and help for other people in the neighborhood. This 3-part system, part of the reason I developed it was so easy that, once you've done it once, then that's, the in-laws who come or the neighbors who come, you can show them what to do, or give them some livestock. I mean, this is something that's very easily replicatable. Yes. And that's what I saw in Cuba. The people there was like 1 or 2 in every neighborhood where there was somebody who was a lunatic that still grew their own food. When that crisis hit, those people became the leaders in their communities, and the doctors and the lawyers and the stockbrokers moved down to the bottom of the heap. They were basically useless. But the jardineros, the gardeners and the people that knew how to grow food, the people that knew how to had practical
and make
skills
remedies.
And make remedies, yeah. They became the community leaders. And that is, if you're watching this, you're probably called to do this. Go do it right now. I've set out this whole template step by step, or get wherever you get your information. I don't care, but this is vitally, vitally, vitally important for what's coming, is that you can secure your own food supply. And it's really not that difficult. And, are you going to make some mistakes? Yeah. Are you going to have some? Yeah. But you can do this. And it's actually a lot simpler and easier. Honestly, I think I said this earlier. It's like, I am so grateful that I had that huge failure with that project trying to get food in the elementary school, because this is the best thing that ever happened to me. And a couple of years from now, you'll be like, wow, that was so great that I was forced into learning how to grow food, because now it's like the most favorite part of my day, right? Is going out and working with the chickens or getting my hands in the earth or whatever, whatever you're doing to tend that. So it's something that you'll really come to love and enjoy. I sure have.
Beautiful. So don't forget, everyone, go to braveheartnation.com/grow. Grow. We got to make it grow. Okay?
Okay.
And it's time that we all grow up, right?
It is.
Yeah, we have to grow up to some realities that are coming. What would you like to leave everyone with, Marjory?
Just that it's so wonderful. Just get started, and when you get those first eggs, or when you harvest that first tomato, you're going to be hooked. You're going to love it. It's going to be amazing, and you'll be so empowered. And it's just the most wonderful thing you can do. So I just want to, don't be afraid. Get over the programming. They've been trying to dissuade you from doing this forever. Be bigger than them, and yeah, and reach out and get in touch. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. So let's lay an egg, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Marjory, and we'll have you back on again. I promise. Okay, it's been really great.
All right, thank you, Daryl. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Marjory. Well, there you have it, everyone. And let me see here. Let me just go back here to Marjory Wildcraft, and remember to go to braveheartnation.com/grow. I mean, come on. She put it there. That's her gift to you. Okay, at least give it a watch. Okay, she spent years putting it together. Okay, so what we need everyone to do is to find your gift and then gift the world, just like Marjory did. We need to come together as a Braveheart Nation, because together we're stronger. And I'm going to tell you something. You know what? There's all kinds of pitches out there, but I'm not giving you a pitch. I'm trying to tell you that every one of you are my brother, my sister. We all were created by the same God, whether we have many different stories or colors or religions or whatever the case may be. But we better put that stuff to the side pretty damn quick here, okay? Pretty quick, and we better understand something, that there's a couple 100,000 people that have strategized for hundreds of years. I said hundreds, okay? And they've hog-tied 8 billion, and you're gonna find out what that looks like, okay? And just remember something, that thing that happened in 2020, okay, that was kicked off, that was the litmus paper test to see if they were going to pull this off. And I just want everybody to know, who wore the mask and took the B and did all of those things, you gave them the green light, okay, to just say the most absurd things, to poison everything, and to just lose themselves. I mean, these guys have just lost themselves because, like I said, we weren't guarding the hen house, were we? Okay? All right? We gave our children to the government because that's what we did when we sent them to school. I sent my kids to school. I would never do it again. Okay? You know, I have adults, okay, parents that call me and go, Dr. Wolf, I need you. I know that you do a lot of interventions with teenagers and children, and this happens almost every week. I need you to talk to my child, okay? And the child might be like a teenager, almost an adult. And the reality is this, almost like 9 times out of 10, before the consult's even over, I go, listen, I need to sit down with you and your husband, or you and your wife, because the problem lies with you, not with them. And the reality is, this would have never happened if we didn't give our kids to the government. The government had your kids more than you ever knew your kids. And just think about that. Think about that. When they came home, it was like this, rush, rush, get your homework done, go eat, go to bed, okay? But they had them all day long, and they could program into little robots. So this is where we are today, okay, whether we like it or not. Unless we're going to get into communities where we're sharing and caring and helping each other and teaching our own children, okay, then I don't know what's going to happen. This whole thing is just going to get lost. And I'm not losing my stuff, but I'm telling you right now, don't ask yourself why you have trouble with your children when they were given to a system that isn't broken, okay? It's just corrupt, okay? Understand that. And everyone here, I just want you to know that I'm coming out with an app. It's called Braveheart Nation. And that app is something we've been working on for 2 years now. And it's cost me a lot, and the reality is it's worth every penny. And I want that app to try to help to bring together, okay, and create at least 1 billion smiles in the next year. Because the reality is this, there's nothing better to do then serve your brothers and sisters when you find your passion and purpose. And we all have a passion and purpose. I'm just a small piece of this, but I'm going to tell you something. I'm never going to stop standing up for you until you can stand up for yourself or even know that you're supposed to. Okay? You know, why don't you try really respecting and honoring and loving yourself and caring for yourself, and then even see if you can strategize to have a perfect day from the moment you rise until you close your eyes, where you're smiling throughout the day no matter what happens. And let's see if you can get through one day without reacting, without going, oh my God, did you hear? Okay, mind your own business. Don't take anything personal, but take your heart, take that personal and fill it up and fill your life up and become the billboard for your family. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I had to stop being scared so that everybody in my family would stop being scared. And now I'm bloody well fearless. Nothing scares me. Nobody can threaten me. And what I realized in life is I'm always going to have problems with people that wish they could do what I could do, but they just want the easy way out. Okay? The reality is there's always going to be those people. You've got to go forward. When you're thinking really clear, I want you to sit down and I want you to write what's called a Braveheart Hero's contract. What would I do if I had unconditional love and care for myself, and if I was full of potential? Where would I live? What would it look like? Who would I hang around with? What would I eat? What would I drink if I totally loved, honored, and respected my body, and I wanted to become, okay, an advocate for my family, my friends, and the world? What would that look like? You think about it. I'll be back here tomorrow night, and again, I'll be back tomorrow at 6 Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be doing another interview with a specialist from Food Forest Abundance, okay? And as you notice, if you've been watching these, you'll see that everybody's got something to offer. Everybody's different, but they're all on the same mission. And guess what that is? Loving you, caring for you, until you can learn how to love yourself and care for yourself. Wouldn't that be something to not feel guilty about loving and caring for yourself and being selfish enough to know how to create a perfect day so that you can pass that on to your loved ones? Check out my perfect day guide at pdgfree.com, okay? And then check out Marjory's, okay, training, all right, at braveheartnation.com/grow, okay? All right? Let's grow together. 3, 2, 1. We've got this, Bravehearts.